A lot of you guys got to know my channel initially through Batman Arkham. Well, today we have a Batman Arkham reaction video coming to us from Gaming Bold saying Batman Arkham Knight review 10 years later. If you guys remember the first time I reacted to a Batman Arkham Knight review, it was Under the Mail, the literal master of rage bait. Alright? So today, we're going to be reacting to this. Oh goodness, Lord have mercy. Wish me luck. Let's get it.
The city's overrun. We don't stand a chance.
Stay here. I'll send someone to pick you up.
What are you doing?
Evening the odds.
Bro, Batman is the literal definition of an aura farmer. Evening the odds. Gonna dive off a cliff. Like, you know that he's there like, I'm not intentionally aura farming, but I low-key kind of am. But, you know, let me just shut up and get into it. Oh my gosh, the Batman corn is going crazy. It's going crazy. I'm already getting my jets engined, if you will. Oh yeah. Alright, now quick, show the suit change. I'm close.
Oracle, I need to track that military vehicle.
A squad car has picked up the pursuit. I'm relaying its location now.
Not really much of a review if you spend the first minute friggin' just showing Batman Aura Farm. Gaming Bolt. Make sure you go check them out.
The Batman. It's impressive how after all these decades, all the reboots, spin-offs, changing identities, poor Commissioner Gordon, and crossovers, the name still inspires some reverence and awe. Matching that is difficult, but when Rocksteady released Batman Arkham Asylum in 2009 and followed it up with the even more incredible Arkham City in 2011...
You know what part of it is as well, though? There's a part of me that, like, genuinely thinks to this day, I have a hard time playing other games still. Because of how good this game and these games in this franchise really are. It was so far ahead of its time. And it's one of those things where I really do just love playing the Batman Arkham games. Like, I play other games, and I always compare the combat to it. The open world, the story, everything, you know, the side missions and everything. And I just love the Batman Arkham games. I love the way that they were structured. So I'm always subconsciously comparing other games to the Batman Arkham games, even if that style game isn't necessarily meant to be related to this. But that's just, like, it's just one of those things. I think it's a nostalgia factor, but I also just love these games so much.
It became a franchise to reckon with, one which guaranteed a certain caliber of gaming that few other titles could replicate, simply because they understood the essence of what makes Batman the Batman. And then, Batman Arkham Knight came along.
Very mixed reviews.
Do not lie to me.
Oh my gosh. Do you know how hard that would be, by the way, to lift Penguin above Batman's own head like that? The Penguin's got to weigh like 200 pounds at least. At least 200 pounds. Like, that's not an easy thing to do.
I'm not, I swear.
Another case of aura farming from Batman.
Those airships over the West River, it belonged to him.
Put him down! We'll shoot back!
Launching on...
Man, Batman is literally in a constant state of aura farming, isn't he? Like that's the only way I can describe it. Like, he is literally that one bro who always thinks that they're in an edit. It's legitimately insane.
June 23rd, 2015, after extensive hype, it would seemingly offer a thunderous conclusion to the trilogy. And yes, trilogy, because for better or worse, Arkham Origins never gets its due.
Okay. I thought he was about to say that Arkham Origins wasn't good. I have Arkham Origins at number 1 or number 2 in the franchise. Kind of depends on how you look at it. Arkham Knight, its combat's good. It's got the best combat in the franchise. It's a mixed bag kind of game.
Previous titles exposed Batman's never-say-die attitude and incredible detective skills, but this one stacked the gauntlet in a way that exposed his desperation. Maybe the Dark Knight wouldn't come out of this in one piece. Maybe this really was the Knight's End. It seemed like the perfect recipe for a finale, especially with the Arkham Knight providing a suitable counter to Batman's prowess. Gotham City presented a slick new open-world playground to explore, one teeming with new Riddler challenges, villains to nab, and
Might I add, those Riddler challenges, by the way, were the best Riddler challenges in the franchise. I know people didn't like it, but I think that's mostly due to the fact that by this point, we've already collected hundreds of Riddler trophies and Enigma packs and Arkham Origins. We've done all the challenges and stuff. People were just tired of the Riddler, I think, but those challenges in and of itself, if you take yourself out of that annoyed context, was very, very well done and some of my favorites.
unsuspecting crooks to dive bomb on mid-dialogue.
Now, you can do that in all the games, though.
There was also the Batmobile, and who wouldn't love tearing through the streets, targeting enemy vehicles and wrecking them, non-lethally, before engaging in some friendly interrogation.
That's the problem, though, with the Batmobile, partially, is the fact that it's unlethally. If the Arkham Knight was genuinely smart, he would have put men in the tanks knowing that Batman wouldn't kill. Now, sure, Batman probably would have found a way to subdue the car in some sort of fashion that doesn't actually cause harm to the people inside. I don't doubt that, but let's be honest, that part's a little bit unrealistic.
Did we mention how incredible everything looked? Even by today's standards, and by
That is true. The graphics have held up extremely well.
those of more recent DC games, which we'll get to, it looks incredible, absolutely phenomenal in pretty much every aspect. In its endeavor to go a little too large with the sequel, Rocksteady introduced some rather annoying wrinkles, which we'll get into, but 10 years on, Batman Arkham Knight is still an incredible open-world experience and one of the better superhero games out there.
It is, but there's something that you have when you add context to it. This is what I think. When you add context to the whole, one of the best superhero games out there, there's not a whole lot of superhero games out there. Like, is there a really elite Superman game? Like, you got Batman and Spider-Man for the two elite superhero games. Outside of that, there really isn't much in terms of elite superhero games, at least not on this level in this sort of context.
Even if it kind of fumbled the climax. No major story spoilers, so don't worry if you've never played it.
The game's been out for over 10 years. Talk about the story. I want to get into this. That's the whole point of this friggin' video. Come on, give me something to rant about. Give me something to get angry about. Rage bait me. Come on!
The events of Arkham City would make Gotham City much safer, but it's not long before Scarecrow, missing since Arkham Asylum, would unleash a new spread of fear toxin.
How we survived against Killer Croc to this day, we'll never know.
Batman quickly enters the fray, venturing to where it all began, Ace Chemicals. And then his world is turned upside down. Confronted by a new villain, the Arkham Knight, leading a group of mercenaries and working with Scarecrow, Batman has to deal with the kidnapping of Barbara Gordon, aka Oracle, and a larger plan to infect the city. Then there's the matter of
That is like the majority of the game, it feels like, as well, is trying to track down Barbara and save her, and I get it, but at the same time, it feels like a little bit of filler. But when you say a new villain, it's not or it's a new villain in a sense, because Jason Todd wasn't necessarily a villain, even though he was in a sense, he was a vigilante going a bit too far with it, but it's a new character because it has a new name, but it's a familiar face, so I don't know, it's a bit of a cop-out.
the Joker, whose infected blood is turning a small group of patients into his successors. There are some pretty high stakes, and Rocksteady offers up some pretty cool set pieces, but the overall narrative sags in places, especially when it comes to the Arkham Knight. Given the circumstances of his history with Batman, you would think a proper battle would be in the offing, but it's an anticlimactic series of takedowns while sneaking past.
This boss battle is actually not too bad. I actually don't mind it because there is that constant element that Jason could pick you off at legitimately any point, right? When I was playing the game, for the first time, having to constantly navigate my way through to not get picked off by Jason because he's as lethal as Deadshot. So you have to be extremely careful with where you go at all times, especially because, yes, you could see where he's aiming, but he could switch that in an instant. So I don't know if I'd say it's underwhelming. I did like this boss battle more than the majority of them.
His shots.
Better than the Batmobile ones.
Then there's the other elephant in the room, the Batmobile.
Let's talk about it.
It was cool when engaging in high-speed chases and even in some puzzles.
To a degree, they overdid it. I understand why they did that, because they wanted to add more content to the game, which isn't inherently bad. But if you're going to do that kind of stuff, where you're adding the Batmobile, add in a variety of different things, instead of having you chase down APCs 10 times. It gets a little bit rusty after a while. So I would argue, add in more variety and make it less, and kind of season it with a wide variety of seasonings as opposed to just one seasoning, if you get what I mean.
But there were also the annoying tank missions where you had to take down waves and waves of enemy vehicles.
Yeah,
It
that
was
can get annoying.
repetitive, and even if you still had missions where Batman stealthily took down a base's opposition, destroying 20 militia checkpoints was simply just too much to ask.
I agree.
With those
Was under the mayo onto something all along. Maybe he wasn't rage baiting from the get-go.
negatives out of the way, let's talk about the many positives.
Yeah.
The free-flow combat is still as robust as ever.
The best in the franchise.
Countering and dodging is still fluid and responsive.
Yep.
Finishers are hard-hitting and crunchy. Building up your combo and systematically dismantling a group of enemies never gets old, even if the variety of threats isn't massively expanded over the previous games.
Well, I would argue that they actually added in more enemy types though in this game, right? Because they had all the usual ones, and I'm kind of blanking on some of the ones off the top of my head, but I know that they were adding in new enemy types, like the armored enemies who had shields as well, and armored enemies who had the knives and stuff, the mini gunmen. They had enemies that you couldn't see under detective vision. They did add new ones in there. It's not totally true.
One of the cooler new additions is dual play. It allowed for temporarily
I didn't care for that much, to be honest.
controlling the likes of Robin, Catwoman, and Nightwing.
They all suck. Playing as Batman's the best, and you can argue it's because I'm used to using Batman the most, and that's why, and I'd get better using others with time. But I'm also playing a Batman game. If I wanted to play as Catwoman, if I wanted to play as Robin, if I wanted to play as Nightwing, I would buy their games. There's a reason why those games haven't been made. Because we don't want to play as them. We want to play as Batman.
You could even perform stylish dual takedowns. The only downside is that it's only available in select points, and they're not nearly as plentiful throughout the story.
Good.
Stealth also remains as excellent as ever, with new options like imitating Harley Quinn's voice with the voice synthesizer
That is
to
kinda
lure
cool.
enemies and pounce on them.
Like you kidnapped
Yeah,
us back.
that part's pretty cool.
Open the gate now!
No problem.
First she said shut the gate, now she wants it open. I think she's gone crazy.
She's being crazy, but I don't know where you're just going to that
Regardless,
conclusion now.
it's such a refined and well-done combat system that WB Games Montreal's Gotham Knights looks downright sickening in comparison.
Yeah, think about this, right? Gotham Knights came out in 2022. Batman Arkham Knight came out in 2015. That's 7 years apart. And yet the combat's so much better. Now, to be fair, WB Games Montreal didn't make this one, but WB also made Batman Arkham Origins. And my issue with the combat in Gotham Knights, it's boring. It's just repetitive. That's all it is. The combat sessions last way too long. It kind of reminds me of Spider-Man in a way, but it's even more boring. At least Spider-Man's moves are pretty cool.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League incorporated a counter shot mechanic, but still
Boring.
leaned heavily on looter mechanics.
It was boring. Let's just call it a spade a spade. It was repetitive, even worse than Gotham Knights.
Traversal skills, and unimaginative live service objectives. While there's plenty to dislike about certain open-world activities in Arkham Knight, the Most Wanted system opened up a fresh variety of cases and villains for Batman to hunt down.
That's true.
Perfect Crime is investigation, heavy, and leads to a battle with one of the dark
The CSI aspects of these games are my favorite, especially Batman Arkham Origins. I like the pig mission, but I prefer those little crime scene investigations to figure out who it is, go track them down, interrogate them. I like those ones. I love CSI stuff.
Knight's more disturbing villains. There are Riddler challenges to complete and trophies to earn. And though it was an excuse to shoehorn more Batmobile segments, at least they were more focused on racing than combat, other
Yeah, those were the best parts of the Batmobile.
villains and anti-heroes from the franchise also make their debut, presenting some interesting new stories and challenges. The traversal also remained as incredible as ever. Chaining grapples and glides just felt so intuitive and right, making the Batmobile stick out like a sore thumb all the more. Perhaps the biggest point of contention for most players is having to achieve 100% for the true ending, which only raises more questions than answers.
But I think the whole idea by that is to make the developers are probably thinking that it's going to inspire more players to go in 100% the game. Otherwise, players would just play the main campaign and get off. And I think it's a good idea in theory, but you could also just YouTube it, I guess. But it's better when you earn it yourself. And it kind of, from my perspective, makes me think, you know what, if I go out there and I complete all the missions and I earn the chance to see this cutscene, it's going to feel a lot more rewarding than if I just Google it.
Then again, with how Kill the Justice League followed up, I would have preferred if they went unanswered.
True.
As good as the base game could be, the
And I think it was pretty obvious he faked his own death, too.
DLC didn't quite hit the mark. Playing as Batgirl in a story set before Arkham Asylum? Good, save for the crashing issues. Controlling Harley Quinn as she battles against Bloodhaven's cops?
I didn't care about that one.
Decent, if it didn't last 30 minutes. And the Red Hood story pack is even shorter.
It took you 30 minutes? I think it took me 20. Jeepers, you're slow.
Catwoman's Revenge, a flip of a coin,
Terrible.
which saw Robin taking on Two-Face. Bad, plain and simple.
Yeah.
At least the Season of Infamy added multiple new missions and villains, like Mr. Freeze,
Yeah.
the Mad Hatter, and Killer Croc.
How do you guys rank the Season of Infamy, by the way? Like, what do you rank those for? What, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze, Mad Hatter, and Ra's al Ghul? I would say last place is Mad Hatter. I've never cared about the Mad Hatter stuff. I don't even know how he escapes prison, to be honest with you. It kind of just seems like by lucky chance he does. Then I would say probably the Killer Croc one, because you have to keep leaving the ship, or because you leave the ship in order to go get those cops that are, like, hanging by the parachutes. And then you have, like, then you have the Mr. Freeze and the Ra's al Ghul. I'd say Mr. Freeze next, because that storyline with Nora is very sad, and then the best is definitely the Ra's al Ghul one. It was just the most interesting. You could tell that they invested the most amount of time into that one. But let me know how you guys rank that one.
Each with
Or
their own
rank that
story.
DLC.
Batman Arkham Knight was no stranger to controversy at launch. While the Xbox One and PS4 versions ran flawlessly,
I was about to go into the PC corrupt port stuff. I didn't have to deal with that, so I don't really care.
delivering a consistent 30 frames per second, even with such detailed weather effects, character models, and environments, the PC version was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
Performance issues,
Nowadays, I don't think it matters because, like, it's been fixed.
crashes, bugs, a capped frame rate which still dropped
Now, okay, I'm not in the video game franchise. Like, I'm not in, like, the video game development industry, so I'm not gonna trash anybody for this. But I genuinely am curious if any of you guys work in this sort of field. Let me know down in the comments below. How does stuff like this happen? How do we get ourselves into a position where you don't know that a specific port for your game is going to be glitchy? Does it not get tested beforehand? Or is it a server thing? Like when the game gets released, it's on an online server of some sort, and that's what causes the bugs? Or I'm kind of curious. I genuinely want to know what caused that.
Offensively, the whole works. It was so bad that Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment suspended sales a day after launch and even offered refunds. Months would pass, and even with significant patches, the PC version still had issues. But
Yeah.
it would eventually get much better.
I wonder how long that took. How long did that take, guys?
Even with all these caveats, the Batmobile, some of the story beats, the finale, etc., Batman Arkham Knight is still an essential experience. There's something about Rocksteady.
Yeah, Under the Mayo, go finish this game. That's the only knock I really have on you still, is the fact that you didn't even finish the game before talking your shite. Go finish it, then come back to me.
Exploring all these different avenues for the iconic hero, attempting to expand on his mythos and journey while following up on its successor, one of the greatest games ever made. It may not nail everything perfectly. I would probably rate it an 8 out of 10, all things considered.
That's
but
generous.
It's still,
I'd probably give it like a 6, 7. No, it's a joke. Probably somewhere genuinely between a 6 or a 7, though. Like, the combat is what carries it. The story's kind of eh. Most of the side missions are eh. The Batmobile's gemmed in a bit too much, but the gameplay of it in itself is good. DLCs are pretty good. I'd probably say it's about a 7.
incredibly fun.
I'd say getting a
Together
bit
with
much.
Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight, this is one of the greatest video game trilogies out there.
Quadrilogies, we have to count Batman Arkham Origins, man. Like, guys, this is reacting to a Batman Arkham Knight review. I did not get as angry as I anticipated. It turns out most people are not, like, Under the Mail, so let me know what you guys thought of this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if there's a game review you guys want me to watch out there, or a specific video that you guys want me to react to, let me know down in the comments below, leave a link, and I will absolutely give it a watch for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!